Pokemon is certainly a game series with plenty of eerie urban legends surrounding it, as you've probably seen from the 3 spookiest and most well-known legends of the series that were featured for this year's Let's Haunt special. But there's more to the spooky Pokemon urban legend genre than just that, and there are plenty of stories that I was unable to showcase in game form. The legends just didn't have ROMs or executable files for them, or the ROMs were unfinished and refused to work. One of these lesser-known tales that I most regret being unable to show you is also one of my favorites. It is, like so many of the creepypastas surrounding the Pokemon franchise, based on rumors of hidden sprites and events that were later dummied out from the Pokemon Red, Blue, and Green betas, and which apparently still have information about them on the cartridge. It is particularly infamous for its eerie effects on the player's Game Boy console, and for its morbid sprites and the event accompanying them. And most of all, it is a chilling tale of developer malice known only by the name of its trainer sprite, the Buried Alive model. Often referred to as its code, the Berryman script, the Buried Alive model was part of a scripted event in Pokemon Red, Blue, and Green. It was a battle event to be encountered by the player on the final floor of the Pokemon Tower in Lavender Town, a battle that has now been replaced by the Marowak Ghost. According to the scripts assigned to it, Buried Alive was intended to be the boss of the tower. Upon reaching the top floor, the following conversation would have taken place. Buried Alive, you're here. I'm trapped. And I'm lonely. So very lonely. Won't you join me? After this, the battle would have started. Once in battle view, the Buried Alive model, known in the game's code as Berryman.gif, appears to be a decaying human corpse, attempting to crawl out of the ground. It has been programmed to have a Pokemon party consisting of a Gengar, a Muk, and 2 white hands. Known as the White Hand.gif sprite, and scripted to appear only in this specific battle, the White Hand sprite appears in battle as a shriveled, decayed hand, with alarming attention given to the detail. The flesh on the hand is peeled back from the bones, and tendons dangle realistically from the wrist. These hand sprites were unique for the first-generation games in that they had 4 separate animations: an introduction, the Pokemon Cry, an idle, and 2 attacks. These attacks are unknown, as they are listed only as Fist and Brutal. The animation is apparently hazardous to players in some unspecified way, while viewing the frames the model has no adverse effects. For the Fist attack, the hand appears to ball into a fist and swing forward. The Brutal animation is missing several frames, as the hand seems to open up, then cuts out. After a few seconds, it reappears, closed again. No record has ever been found of these missing frames. Strangely enough, the protocol for Buried Alive's actions after it was defeated was not written. In the case of the player defeating him, the game would freeze. However, a specific ending was written by an unknown programmer upon losing the battle. In this ending, Buried Alive was to have stated, "Finally, fresh meat," followed by several lines of gibberish. He was then to have dragged the player character into the ground surrounding him. The scene would finish with a typical game over screen. However, in the background, an image of the Buried Alive character devouring the player was to have shown, with a grating, awful noise identified as the sound file staticmesh.wave playing in the background. Especially strange about the event are the protocols for after this scene. The cartridge was to download this image to the small internal memory contained in the Game Boy, overwriting the title screen that normally accompanies a Game Boy turning on. Instead, whenever the Game Boy was started, the player would view this image as the sound file staticmesh.wave was played in the background. The intended purpose for this effect, and the event in general, unlike many of the other factors leading towards things like Lavender Town Syndrome, is unknown. To this date, the programmer of the event has never been found. Unlike many of the other creepypasta legends I wanted to LP, such as Abandoned Loneliness and Pokemon Blue Tears, I was able to actually find a very well-made standalone executable of the Buried Alive legend, done in RPG Maker VX. However, the game refused to work for me even after patching the game extensively, downloading a specified file containing all the components the game needed to run, and even downloading the actual RPG Maker the game was created with. However, none of this worked, and I later learned that standalone games made with this program often won't work well in Windows 7, which is why I sadly had to put the Buried Alive legend to rest permanently, and why the legend itself is presented as retitling only, with links to videos associated with the legend. I'm afraid I'll have to leave the rest of the legend to your own twisted imaginations. Pleasant nightmares.